What's going on, everybody? We're starting a new top 10. And before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we're going to jump right in. Last series, we covered top 10 things you need to consider before starting a business. And this week, we're going to cover top 10 things you need to do to start a business. So this is, you're getting ready to do it. You've made the decision that you want to go forward. And there's just a bunch of things that, and this isn't a full comprehensive list, by the way, but there's a bunch of things that you need to get going and get established and take care of to actually start a business. So these aren't in necessarily sequential order. These are weighted in terms of the things of most importance, in my opinion. And again, you can flip flop some of these. And again, it's not fully comprehensive, but just want to give you some things that if you're thinking about it and you've made the decision to do it, that you want to do. Also, if before we get started, give me a subscribe, hit the like, thumbs up button, and then hit the alert button. And then also, if you know of somebody who could use this advice and you can't have that conversation or don't want to, maybe recommend them checking in on this series and the other series, and share the video. So that'd be helpful for everybody. So we're going to get going, and we're going to start out with a bonus tip. Try and bring value. So more than 10 things that I'm going to cover with you. Determine if you need to hire somebody at all to start, right? And again, if you do need to hire somebody, determine if you need to hire them part-time, full-time, or contract, right? And so you have to think about the benefits that are involved in hiring somebody. And if you go contract, you can do 1099. Then you don't have to pay the benefits necessarily, but there's other things that you lose with that, because there's less job security when you hire somebody 1099, and then they could be wooed away by a position with another competitor or company that does offer benefits. So you got to think about all of those items, right? Hiring somebody and human capital is just kind of one of the most expensive endeavors that you're going to take on, outside of leasing some space or buying some property to run your business, if you need to do that at all, right? So just something to consider there. Again, we have these dreams of grandeur, and we want to start a business and want to get hiring people, but hire at the right time, right? You got to make sure you do it when you need it. And again, hopefully that you'll grow and you'll be able to have the funding to actually do that. Sometimes you got to take that sacrifice and hire somebody because you feel like, and you are going to grow, and you may not be making as much profit right away, but long term it's going to help your growth. So just something else to think about. Start looking at resumes via the job sites that are out there, and make sure that you get a little pool going, right? And then try and knock them out all at once, so you have that fresh comparison to have with each potential employee that you're going to hire, so that you can do basically a side by side, right? And again, maybe you hit that unexpected growth and you need some people, and you can go back and hit the second and third candidate as well. You don't know, but it's always something that you want to have at the forefront of your mind when you're running a business, especially if you're running a high turnover business. Another thing is, just once you start interviewing, keep that pile handy. Again, it's just something that you want to always do, because once you hire somebody, they may not necessarily work out. So just another item to consider when hiring people. Always want to keep that. You don't want to be behind the eight ball, because maybe somebody just quits on you, and then you don't have a fresh stack of resumes, and then you got to go start just from scratch. So if you're doing this about every month, and just kind of keeping that pile of resumes fresh and at your fingertips, and having conversations with people, you're not going to put yourself behind an eight ball. Number 10, you need to establish an FEIN, and that's a federal employer identification number if you're in the US, right? And most governments will have you establish something like that, across the world. I don't know what that's going to be from country to country. You'll have to do your own due diligence on that. But you want to think about it like this. It's basically a social security number for your business, right? That you're giving birth to. So you have to have that, because you're always going to have to pay your taxes. And that's something that you're going to need for the future steps that I'll cover as well. But this is one of the first things that you're going to probably want to do in sequential order as well. So, again, you can go, basically to the IRS and look for how to establish your FEIN. And there's going to be, you can do a search on their site, and they'll walk you through the steps of what that looks like. And again, they'll give you bullet points in terms of, what's going on. So we talked about why you have to do it in terms of paying your taxes. Another reason that you have to do it is that a lot of companies will not give you contracts if that's the type of company you're starting, a B2B, unless you have an FEIN, right? They're going to want to see that you're established, and they don't want to necessarily see that you're a sole proprietor, which we'll cover in another video as well. But that's something that if you're thinking about doing that and you want to get contracts with other companies, most of them are going to require that you have an FEIN. You're going to also need to do this to register with the state. It's the same thing with the state. You got to pay your state taxes as well. So most states will require you to have a federal employee identification number before you can even register with them. And then another thing that you're going to need, you need to do this to hire people, because you're going to have to be the employer of record that if you're collecting, payroll taxes, Social Security taxes, that FEIN is required for you to collect on behalf of those employees that you're going to be paying for. So many different things that you need for your FEIN. And again, we'll establish, and I'll swing back to this number 10 as we get to these other points later on in the future videos. But again, it's something that you want to just get going and just read up on it and make sure you understand the steps of what you need to do and start collecting everything that you need to actually get that established. And then number 9, you have to register with the state. We talked about that with the FEIN, right? And so make sure you know where you're going to headquarter your business. So just because you're operating a business in a particular state doesn't mean that you have to have it registered or set up in that state. A lot of people will, set their businesses up in Delaware or another state because they have tax advantages there. I'm not recommending one way or another. This is something that you'll want to seek professional advice about, but you can do that. So before you actually register with your local state, maybe you want to have that conversation and maybe understand where you want to establish your business. So again, I just have some couple of examples here, not recommending any of these states at all. Texas, Delaware, I mentioned Delaware as well. Delaware is typically where a lot of folks do, but register if they're not going to register in their home state where they'll register their business. You need to also determine the tax implications of running a business with the different headquarters versus your physical address also. And again, you need to speak to an accountant in terms of what that looks like for each one of those. And again, like I mentioned, you're going to need your FEIN. So I've done it both ways. I've had a company where I've registered it in Delaware and paid the taxes accordingly. And I've had it where I've registered in the state in which I was operating the business. I don't know, unless you're doing major revenue right up front. I don't know that I necessarily recommend registering with Delaware. But as you grow, or if you take off, or if you're capital intensive in your business that you're starting, it may be a consideration, right? But if you're wrestling with starting a sole proprietorship, which we'll get into as well, versus an LLC, it's probably not going to make that much of a difference for you initially. And it's something that you can also move and change locations at a later date. That's why you get governors always competing for businesses to move in there. So it's not like you're going to have to, keep it there forever or register your business there in that same state forever. So just some things, again, that we want to cover, and I'll be covering number 8 and number 7 in the next video. And again, I'm going to stop sharing here. If you know somebody who's starting a business or you're thinking about it, feel free to share this with them. And do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and hit the alert button, and we will talk to you at the next video.